Welcome back, everyone. This is the Nrgy Speaks Life podcast. I'm Coach Nrgy, the self-mastery coach, speaker, mediator, and author. On this channel, we talk about everything personal development and self-improvement for those who want to achieve self-mastery. And on each episode, we will share tips, strategies, techniques, and tips that you can actually take action on, practical solutions that you can actually take action on the same day. I have my guest here today, Jaime. He will be discussing everything surrounding self-improvement, self-discovery, self-care, refining your goals, because this is the perfect time. We're about the halfway mark of the year, motivation and growth mindset. So I'm super excited to hear what Jaime has to say. Jaime, thank you so much for joining us. And please introduce yourself to our listeners. Tell us a little bit about you and what's your connection or your experience with those topics that we will be discussing today.
Well, thank you, Nrgy, for having me on. I'm super excited to be here. My name is Jaime Raygoza. I have been in the mental health field and social work field for, oh gosh, I don't want to age myself, but about 10 years now. So from there, I really have been working with a lot of people with various different issues, whether it be just needing to reconnect back into their life. They feel lost, they feel stuck, or they just feel like they don't have a purpose anymore, to more hardcore topics of addiction, mental health issues, severe anxiety, and I've helped them navigate through their life. I started off, like I said, a mental health educator, and then I kind of transitioned into a life coach as my years went on. But it working with all these different people, it definitely shows that at the end of the day, we're still human beings, and we all have similar issues that we go through, similar experiences, and it's not like a very complicated rocket science. At the end of the day, it's a shared experience that one way or another we can relate to each other, and we can help each other build a better future together.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. So yeah, let's pull from all of that experience that you have. So let's start with one of the topics that you have a lot of experience in, which is self-discovery. So
Mhm.
kind of tell us a little bit about your viewpoint and your the way that you work with clients and maybe even yourself regarding self-discovery.
Well, you need to really ask the question why. Like, why am I here? What am I doing? And what is my purpose? Which is sounds like a very deep question, and we may not always have the answer to. And I think one of the things that people tend to fear is trying new things, trying to really get to know who they are. I've noticed, especially something that I struggled with growing up, was I was always catering my needs to everybody else. So I never really did that self reflection to see what does Hyman need? What is it that matters to me? And I've seen a lot of people are in similar situations where they maybe grew up in a family where they always had to they were the oldest and they had to provide for the rest of their siblings, or maybe they were first generation immigrants and they had to provide for the whole family, so they really couldn't be selfish and do things for themselves. So I asked them, okay, now that you're an adult and you have adult money and you have your career going on, you're no longer in that place. So let's really ask ourselves, what do you need? What is it that fulfills you? What is filling your soul? And it's funny how I always like to start every session with the 8 sections of wellness. So your physical wellness, your mental wellness, your social, spiritual, environmental, occupational, mental health, various sections of wellness. And I asked them which of the areas do they feel that they're more like connected to, and which ones are they more separated to. And the ones that they're more separated to, those are the areas we really have to dive in to really discover why are we so separated from those and what is missing, so you can find your purpose.
Oh man, I like that. You ask the questions, or you start off with the 8 sections of wellness, and then you ask your client, okay, which one of these are you most connected to? I like that. You were talking about having, depending on like maybe how you've grown up, needing to put other people first or not really being able to think about yourself at, too often. I had a guest prior to you on another episode, and we were talking about people pleasing. And as soon as you described that, I was like, yeah, we actually talked about that, being such a people pleaser and how it can affect the person and the person growing up and developing, especially going into adulthood. And
Mm-hmm.
your self discovery topic, it's like that's exactly what a people pleaser needs to go through the process of discovering themselves, asking that question, why? Why am I here? What is my purpose? So when you said that, it tied me to the other another conversation I was having before. So that's good. So with that, when a person asks themselves why, how what would you say to help guide them through finding that answer?
Well, we really have to see what are their passions. And sometimes we get stuck there because they don't know. So we really have to see what is their passions? What is it that they brings them joy every single day? And something that advice that was given to me by another person was always find something that you're passionate for and something that can two actually let me rephrase that. Two things that you're passionate for and one thing that can bring you money based on those two passions. And how, so really think about those two passions and how can you reinvent those two passions to bring you some money, and then see, is there a job out there that fits that those two passions? And if so, seek for those positions and try them out. You may think you like them, and once you start doing them, you may realize, you know what, this isn't for me. Then pick two more passions and go for it. But if you look out in the millions of jobs that are out there, and you're like, you know what, none of these really fit my niche and what my two passions are, then that's when you need to really do the really reflection of, maybe I need to create this position for myself, this company, this vision, and then create something new. And if there is something out there and you just don't like the structure, then duplicate it and make it better.
Yes, yes, yes. Try new things, try different things out. When I'm working with clients as well, and I'll give them that same advice or maybe even assignment, I'll make it an assignment. And, sometimes they'll respond back and say, what if I don't do well, or what if I mess up? That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay, especially with it being something that you're new at doing, or a new experience or a new bridge that you're about to cross. You're not gonna, maybe do well right at first. You have to try it to see if this is something that you're good at, and not just being talented and good at it, but if it's something that, like you said, it kind of strikes that emotion, that joy within you. And then if you can, tick off that third box and see how can it bring in some income, that's it right there.
Yes, and to piggyback off of your the fear of failing, I actually challenge everybody. I want you to do something and I want you to fail, because that's the only way you're going to learn. We learn through being in uncomfortable situations, because when we're in comfortable situations, you're not challenged. You're not learning anything. You're being in a safe space where, why should you change if nothing's going wrong? And that's the only way you're going to grow, by putting yourself in uncomfortable situations where you will potentially fail. But through each failure, you're learning a valuable life lesson that you would have never learned unless you actually tried and failed. So by doing so, you're better equipped for the next time around. And you're only going to once you're low, you can't go any lower than that. So the only way is going up. So just keep building on that through your mistakes, and you're going to have this plethora of knowledge, this tool belt of skills that you're only going to help you in the long run.
Absolutely. And that's a perfect segue to growth mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's talk about that. Tell us about growth mindset, and how can it be beneficial, and how can a person get to that place?
Yeah, so there's like really two main mindsets. It's stagnant mindset and growth mindset. So you either believe that things are going to stay the same forever and nothing's ever going to change. No matter what you do, your destiny is defined already. And this is the way life has control over you, and you have no control over your destiny. Second one is growth mindset, where you have control of your life. You can maybe not control every single circumstance, but you can control your behaviors, your actions, the way you react to things, your perspective, and you will ultimately shape your destiny the way that you want it to, that best fits your life. And this is something that I always like to instill in my clients and everyone that I work with and interact with, because it is so valuable that you have control over your life. And I always ask when people are like, oh, this happened to me, my life sucks right now, X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, okay, let's take a step back. Let's reflect. What out of that was out of your control? And then we talk about it. And then I challenge them. Sometimes they're like, I went to this place, we got in a big argument with this person. And I was like, okay, what was out of your control in that situation? Well, everything was out of my control. And I was like, how did you react? You had control of your reactions, your emotions. You chose to say those words. You chose to react that way. Well, how, if you would have reacted another way, how would that circumstance change? And then they're like, oh, well, I guess I could have done X, Y, and Z. And then you really start really breaking down the fundamentals of how they can be in more control in their life. And one of the misconceptions, or one of the most common errors that I see people, is that they live life without purpose. Like they don't really plan out what, how, like the purpose of what they're doing when they're doing it. So if you're going to a certain social event, ask yourself, what is my purpose of me going there? Is it to socialize? Is it to network? Is it to just be present, to show face? What is my purpose there? Because if you go in blindly to events or social interactions or things of that nature, and you don't have a purpose, then that's when things can go awry. You didn't set an intention for it. So you need to really ask yourself, what is my goal? What is my purpose of going there? And then if you're like, I need to network, I need to expand my business, I need to make improve my brand, my self brand, then now you have goals that you can tangibly work with, and you have intention on who you need to talk to, how you're going to express yourself. And you're going to know that maybe I'm not going to overreact to something that was said because that's not my intention here. That's not my purpose. So you really just have to ask yourself those questions and plan what you're going to do. It seems tedious, but it's going to be super helpful in the long run.
Oh, you are speaking to my heart. Yeah, you have pulled out so much information from one of my products that I have published, and it's called What's Your Passcode? Because we
Mm,
all have our own combination of how to be or become the best version of ourselves.
mhm,
And so there's in that particular product, it's 7 keys that I share. And the very first one, which goes to what we were just talking about, is self awareness. Because
mhm,
when you were asking that client, okay, well, what happened in that conversation or that situation? And okay, what could you have controlled? And then, you kind of let them know, well, you could have controlled your reaction, your responses. And, having them just kind of pause and think about that. For me, in my coaching product, it's called that's the first step, self-awareness. Because without self-awareness, people aren't, they don't know what is the issue. They don't know what they can actually work on. But then the very second step is self-control.
mhm,
And you spoke to that as well, because we absolutely, oh, that's one of the things that I push and push and push. And I'm very passionate about helping other people truly understand is that they have control over
mhm,
their life. And I think there's a saying, I don't know who to give credit to, but there's this saying out there that life doesn't just happen to me, life happens for me.
mhm,
Because we are going to find ourselves against certain obstacles or certain things that just may happen, but we don't have to look at it as, oh, great, this is just another reason of why life sucks. No, we can say, okay, let me look at this situation and let me find a positive in this situation. What can I get from this? What can I learn from this? How can I grow from this situation? And then
mhm,
you were also talking about being intentional. Intentional was my word for last year, 2022. And being intentional is also something that is key, not just going to any situation, any event, whether it be with family or a professional event, without having some sort of intention or an idea or something that you want to get from it. Don't just go randomly or haphazardly. Go there with saying, okay, I'm going to go there to do XYZ. Or when I go there, I want to leave having received XYZ.
mhm.
And that's where it makes everything that you do worthwhile. and it
Yeah.
makes everything you do have meaning behind it. And that's just a part of the process of being in control of your life. Ah, I love it. So let's talk about, with the growth mindset, where does motivation fit in here?
So a lot of people think that motivation, I'm going to do something and I'm going to get motivated to do that. But motivation comes from self-discipline. You have to really, it has to come within. By doing something, motivation will come after. It doesn't come before starting the action. It comes after starting the action. You have to think about the old cars where you really have to wind them up and back in the days, and then you got in the car and then you kind of went through. That's the way motivation works. So you're winding up the action, and then once you get it going, then you get motivated and you're going through the road. And the way a good example of this is, let's say you need to write a paper for school, or you need to do a report for work, and you're feeling, I'm not motivated to do this. You have to ask yourself two questions. What's going to happen if I do this? What are the consequences, positive or negative? And what's going to happen if I don't do this, positive or negative? And then outweigh the pros and cons. And from there, see, okay, which one do I align myself more with? And which one is going to be worse for me if I don't do it? And once you see that, that usually says, okay, I don't want to get in trouble. I'm going to fail to launch my product. I'm going to fail to do this. If I don't start today, then why not do it? And that seems easier said than done. So, a second thing that I pair things with my clients is saying, do the 5 minute method. Set a timer on your phone for 5 minutes. Sounds very silly, but I even do it for myself and it works every single time. And tell yourself, all I'm doing today is 5 minutes. Tomorrow, I'll do another 5 minutes, or in an hour, I'll do another 5 minutes. But all I'm going to do is sit down, set the timer, even if it's just writing your name on the article, just pulling up everything, setting it up. But you'll see yourself that once you start the action and the timer's running, most of the time, I want to say at least over 60% of the time, you're going to snooze that alarm and continue working on it because you have started the problem, the thing, whatever it is that you've been procrastinating. A lot of the fear in what people do is the fear of failure, the fear of getting having that product or whatever the task that they're doing not be up to their par, trying to reach perfection. So they skew from even starting it because they're afraid of like feeding into those insecurities. So if you start it, you'll notice that you give those thoughts, those ants, those automatic negative thoughts in your head less power, and you actually start doing it. You're like, wow, this is not too bad. This is not as hard as I thought it was going to be. This is actually pretty easy. And you just keep going and going. And you slowly get motivated more and more and more because you're accomplishing more. You finished more and you're like, wow, I'm halfway done. And now you have all these like oozes of motivation and all these like, you know, good feelings in yourself, and you finally finish. So you really just have to start it.
Yes, yes, yes. You're speaking to the productivity side of my brain right now. When you were talking about the creating or using tools like a timer, like that's one of the things that I'm huge on. Use tools to your advantage. We have smartphones with timers, we have watches with timers. I mean, we have sophisticated technology nowadays
Mhm.
to where it can help us stay productive and just to get started. Because for a lot of people, the hardest part is just getting started,
Mhm.
taking that first step, or standing up and moving to the desk, or standing up and going into the kitchen to wash the dishes, whatever it is. I'm
Mhm.
as you were talking and the motivation piece, like right now with present day of us recording, I'm in the middle of a huge decluttering journey.
Mhm.
And there are some days where I'm like, I'm not touching nothing. And it's like, oh my gosh, so I have to dig deep and get, figure out or take one of my techniques or my strategies myself and say, okay, what's going to work for me right now to help me get up and do what I know I want to do and what I need to do. And
Mhm.
so it literally would be, okay, Let me set a 30-minute timer. For the next 30 minutes, I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not going to feel bad for sitting down and propping my feet up, or, maybe watching this podcast or this YouTube channel, or listening to this podcast, or, whatever the case may be. I'm not going to feel bad for the next 30 minutes. But in exchange, then after 30 minutes, I need to do 15 minutes worth of
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And so I'll make a deal with myself. I'll give myself a reward, and for doing the work of whatever it is. And so the once I get started, just like you said, a lot of times you'll start hitting that snooze, because once I get started, I'm like, I've got this momentum now. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I
Yep.
needed, was to get started. And then the momentum starts to build and increase. And it's like, before I know it, I'm like 2 hours in. I've got, a whole section cleared out. And I am like, that's the best feeling. And knowing the feeling on the other side of completing a task, or completing an assignment, it's such a wonderful feeling. That's something that I also like to remind people of, is hold on and remember the feeling of accomplishment, because that's something that you can look forward to in those moments where it's a little bit tougher to get started, when it's a little bit tougher to get going. Just know what that feeling is on the other side, and want that feeling again, as a,
Mm-hmm.
just have that as like your, have, as like another motivation, or thing that you can work towards. Kind of like with working out, a lot of people know that starting the workout, or getting up, putting on your workout clothes, getting outside, going to the park, or going to the gym, that's the hardest part. But when you're done doing whatever you're doing, even if it's just, walking, when you're done, you always feel so much better.
Yes.
And so holding on to that feeling, and having it as a reminder for the next day or the next time, that can also help as well. So
Yes.
yeah, that's my little 2 cents.
And I do want to add something. You said something very powerful, that you schedule your breaks, which is something that a lot of people do not do. And I just want to say something that it took me a long time to learn. If you do not schedule your breaks and you just procrastinate and not do something, you're not really relaxing. While you're there scrolling through your phone, in the back of your head, you're like guilt tripping yourself, you're self punishing yourself, and you're not truly in the moment relaxing, because you have those thoughts in the back of your head. So you really need to set days, or if not, if you don't have the privilege of days, and a few hours out of the day where this is Jaime time, this is energy time, this is the time that we are going to just do absolutely nothing, whatever's going to fuel my soul, whatever's going to help me just be in the moment, leave everything, all of my stressors out, and just do it, whether it be going out for a walk, playing with your dog or cat, playing a video game, reading that book that you've been procrastinating, like the pleasure book, not like the self-learn, or whatever you need to do for your business, but whatever it may be that's going to bring you joy, do that without any guilt, and allow yourself, like you said, set a little timer, just an hour of doing whatever. We plan everything else in our life, so why don't we plan our breaks? Why don't we plan our joy? If I always say, if it's not on the calendar, it's not going to happen. And we procrastinate that part of our life, which causes more and more burnout and less motivation and less ambition in what we're doing. So plan those breaks, because you deserve it. You can't go in your car miles and miles forever. You need to stop, give it an oil change, do whatever. I'm not a mechanic, but do all of those things that they do to make sure everything's working well. And then you go off on your journey again. Your body works the same way. Treat it as your vessel, treat it with passion and love, because you only have one body and you can only push it so far before it breaks down.
Yes, 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 yes. I'm big on balance. So I
Mhm.
don't know where you are on the spectrum of balance, because a lot of people, especially coaches, there are some coaches who are like, balance does not exist, but for me, but for me, I'm big on balance. And speaking to the creating breaks, scheduling breaks, absolutely, because we schedule time for all of this work, all of these different things we have to do, we have to accomplish, we have to achieve. But a lot of us fell to schedule time to just rest,
Mhm.
relax, recoup, and do nothing. And with my so some of my other clients. So on this channel, I speak to my high achievers, but I have another channel and another set of clients. They're the single parents, and for my single parents, especially the single moms, they have what's considered mom guilt, and the
Mm,
guilt comes from which is an inaccurate word and term and feeling that they're using to describe it, because the definition of guilt based off of how they're using the term, oh, I feel guilty if I take a break, or I feel guilty if I do something for myself, or I feel guilty if I sit down without my kids, or schedule some time away for just mommy time. And and I let them know, you have to do that. You have to schedule some downtime for yourself to even show up to be the best mom that you can be, or to be the best dad that you can be.
hmm.
And so here on this channel, you have to schedule time for yourself to be the best version of yourself that you can be.
Exactly.
Yes. Wonderful. So with that, let's segue to self-care. So,
Hmm.
talk to us about self care, and just kind of let us know if there are similar things that both men and women can do, not simultaneously, but things that can fit both whatever a man would do versus a woman would do. And I'm asking that question. I'm not asking it right, I can tell, because it's so much information and resources out here for women. Light
Hmm.
candles and do mask and go to the spa. But there are a lot of guys that are out here who don't know what self-care looks like for a guy. So speak to that if you can, along with whatever other information you want to share regarding self-care.
Yeah. So when people think of self-care, and if we're looking at gender norms, women do tend to go, like you said, spa, do my nails, your hair, something that relaxes your body, while men are more into exercising, more into physical activity, releasing the stress, the anger, everything that they have inside through just moving your body. And those are really good ways of both self-caring, and both women can go into exercise and men can do, get a pedicure and stuff, and that'll be fine. However, when it comes to gender neutral um activities, something I like to do is just being in the present by either meditating, doing yoga, doing mindfulness exercises, simple as breathing exercises that really helps you just be there and taking care of your body. All of that is good to yourself. Feeding your body well, feeding good food, all of that is forms of self-care. The best way that I like to tell people is, if you're going to do an activity, ask yourself, would I make my friend do that activity? And like, think of your best friend, whoever you value the most in your life. Would I force them to do that activity? Do you think that they're going to really enjoy that? And if you say no, are you really going to enjoy that activity, or are you doing it because you feel like you're forcing yourself to? So if you wouldn't force somebody else to do it, and if you know that it's not going to be pleasurable, then why are you forcing yourself to do something? So if you're not really enjoying going to get your pedicures, or you don't like that, then why are you forcing yourself just because people are telling you that's what you have to do? So really find what relaxes you in life. Think of the moments where you feel like, just close your eyes and think, when have I felt most relaxed? Was it when I traveled? Was it when I just sat and watched TV and did absolutely nothing? Was it when I go on walks? And a lot of this, you're going to have to try new things. And like I said, try it, not like it, and then find out what is it that you like, what is it that relaxes you and brings you more self-centered towards you. One thing that I try to like encourage everybody to do is to do a weird walk. So leave your phone at home, go out into the public for 10 minutes, just take a watch or something to keep track. If you have to take your phone, put it on airplane mode and set a timer, and just go for 10 minutes. And your goal is to find something weird in the setting that does not belong there. So walk around the building. Do you see graffiti? Do you see a bird? Do you see a snail? Something that does not necessarily always there, that is out of place. And you'll be surprised what you've seen. I live close to the beach, and it's rare when I see like frogs. It's not something that you see by the beach, but every now and then I'll see like a random frog just like in the grass. And I was like, how the heck did you get here? And I'm like, what the heck? Or I'm like walking and I noticed that a person painted this rock very beautifully and it's like placed on the floor that if I would have not looked for something, I would have never noticed it. And it tells you a story about that person, their joy, whatever they did. And all these little things, or sometimes you're just walking and you realize people holding hands or people just hugging, sharing like a beautiful moment together that you would have not noticed the beauty of humanity in that instance. So really force yourself to look at something different and something weird that you're not used to. And you're going to notice that by the time you come back, you're like, oh, wow, I haven't thought about work. I haven't thought about my stressors. And you had that little moment to relax and then continue again.
Yes, weird walk. I was like, did he say weird? And then you kept talking, and I was like, he did say weird. I was like, okay. That's good though, because I had another a prior guest on the other channel, and we his whole topic was about nature
Mm,
and the health benefits of being in nature, just what it does for the mind, the body, the spirit, the soul, everything. And he was also describing, going on a nature walk. And even if you don't live near woods, he actually used like a beach for an example, or some people just live in the city. And
mhm.
so, going to maybe just the local city park and paying attention to what's around you, looking for that leaf that's in an odd shape or whatever. So yeah, weird walk. I love it. And thank you for clearing it up for me. Gender neutral. I was like, I'm trying to find the term and it couldn't come. And I'm like, I know I'm not explaining this right. So gender neutral. Yes. Thank you for sharing all those other examples that aren't often talked about or not the first thing that comes to mind. Because, like I said, a lot of things that come to mind, and it may just because of the marketing, candles and bubble bath and massage and spa and facial. But what about those other things? Just sitting
Exactly.
down, watching TV, going for a walk, not taking your device with you, so forth and so on. Thank you.
Yeah. And just know you don't have to do it alone. So if your self-care is being with your bestie or
Yes.
being with your mom or your dad or your sister, brother, whoever it may be, and just relaxing, just being in their presence, that's perfectly fine too. It's whatever's going to feel like nurture you. And I'm going to go back to the eight wheels, the eight sections of wellness. Look at what wellness is lower in the spectrum for you and focus on taking care of yourself in that section. So if your social wellness is very low because you've been isolating yourself because of all your work, all of your school, or whatever it may be, then that's the one you need to do self-care in. And that's the thing that people think self-care is I just need to feel good, but there's so many ways of you feeling good. So tap into those areas. Like if feeling good just by sharing a memory with someone, having coffee with a friend that you haven't talked with in years, that is going to make you feel good, then do it.
Yes, yes. It's important to know that self-care will look different for everyone.
Hmm.
There is no right or wrong. There is no cookie cutter method of self-care.
Exactly.
Awesome. So let's go to refining your goals. So, again, by the time that we are here talking about this, and we're halfway through the year already. So, I think this is a perfect way and a perfect time to help people figure out, okay, how have the past 6 months or so gone? And what do I want to do with the 6 months that are coming up? So, let's talk about refining your goals.
Okay. So let's be very honest. Only 20% of people actually accomplish their goals throughout the year. And that's perfectly fine. And the reason that 80% of people don't is because they tried it once, it didn't work out the way that they planned, and they give up because they're like, I already killed it. I ruined it. So that's a misconception. Don't think that just because you tried it and it didn't work, that means you need to give up. You need to restructure that goal, see why did it fail, and know that you're human at the end of the day. You can never be perfect as much as you want to. You're not going to be perfect and everything's going to go your way 100% of the time. You're going to have days that you're going to have a setback, which is fine. Allow yourself to rejuvenate that day and then start again the next day. A lot of the common goals is I'm going to lose weight, this year. So, okay, if you're going to the gym consistently and you have an issue happen and you stop going to the gym for a week, okay, you didn't fail at your goal. You just had a minor setback, but let's continue the next day and start again. So really reevaluate the goals that you let go and ask yourself, why did I let go of those goals? Or if I'm working on a goal still and it's not going the way that you want to, really ask yourself, why is it not going the way I want to? What are my obstacles that are stopping me from achieving that goal? And plan for those. And one of the things that people fail to plan is for stuff that may happen. So birthdays, holidays, special events, weddings, quinceañeras, whatever it may be, those things may stop your routine of whatever you're doing towards your goals. And it's okay. Allow yourself those days, like I said, those break days to just be in the moment and do it. Don't force yourself to wake up at 3 in the morning if that's not your routine to go to the gym that day, to go to the event. Just allow yourself a day break and start again the next day. But really evaluate and plan around these events and think in the future, because failing to plan is planning to fail. So if you don't plan for all of these little things, then when those things come up, it's going to hit you hard. For example, fitness is a big goal this year for me, but I know I had 2 surgeries coming up, and I know that I'm not going to be going to the gym those 2 surgeries. So I already told myself during that month I'm probably not going to be able to go to the gym. So what can I do instead? So I meal prepped ahead, and I started doing more frozen meals, smoothies, juices, things that were easier since I know I wasn't going to be as mobile, but I planned for that. And because of that, I didn't get pushed back as far as I would have if I didn't plan for it. But I'm still ahead of my goal, but I planned for it. If you know that your goal is budgeting or finances, then think about all of the expenses that are going to come up, your oil changes, your birthdays, your um you know, office parties, whatever it may be, that are going to maybe take a little hit on your wallet, and plan for those and start budgeting ahead as much as you can, even if it's like $5, $10, just to in those pockets, so that when it does come up, you're more well equipped for those things and it doesn't catch you by surprise. Because that's the thing. We don't like to be surprised. And when things happen, it ruins our mood. We're like, damn, all of this is happening. It ruined everything. Why even continue? This always happens. And we overgeneralize and we over exaggerate because we're human beings and we like drama. It is what it is. But it's really not that serious. Just start again the next day. Like feel what you need to feel to that moment, but start again the next day.
Yes. You I laughed when you were saying, if you know that waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and going to the gym is not for you, then don't do it. And I'm like, that's
Yes.
that is not me. I am not a morning person. Do not wake me up early at all.
Yes, you need to know your body. The thing is, you need to know yourself, and don't set yourself up for failure. If you're not I'm not a morning person at all. So I already know. I've tried it several times, several years. I cannot wake up past 7, like before 7. It's just not my thing. And if I do, I am not going to be a happy camper. I am going to be the worst person you're going to interact with because I'm going to be in such a bad mood. So I told myself, why am I going to put myself through that misery? Let me replan my day. And if I need to go to the gym, I'll just do it in the afternoon after work. And then I feel a lot better. I feel like, I'll sleep earlier and everything's going to be okay. I'm a night owl. But work with what your body is. We are individual creatures. Just because something works for somebody else doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
Yes. Oh my goodness, absolutely. I structure my workday, I structure my calendar appointment of being available based off of when I know, because I like to call it like we all have our prime time. And that's basically where there's a certain block of time or block of hours in the day where you are at your max, like you are at your peak, and this is where you perform to the highest level. And so with me being aware, self-awareness, me being aware of myself, my body, and when I know typically need to take a break, when I know I typically slow down, when I know that my thoughts aren't coming as fast as they usually do, maybe at a certain or a different part of the day, I've paid attention to that and I said, okay, let me use this to my advantage and schedule those high task appointments or high task items during those blocks where I am, let's go. I'm ready. And then let me start winding down with the slower task or the smaller items when I know I'm outside of that block of time. So yes, absolutely, learning yourself, learning what part of the day works for you, what part of the day you just really feel like you're in the zone. That is so important as well. So let's segue into our next, because you were talking about, if you're awake or someone wakes you up before 7 o'clock, then you're not going to be a happy camper. Let's go ahead and segue into the fun segment. Okay, so
All
this
right.
next segment is where I will ask you up to 3 questions, and they're totally fun. They're out of the box. It has nothing to do with the topics that we've been talking about today, because we want to just kind of get to know you a little bit more outside of self discovery, motivation, things like that. So, my
All right.
first question for you is, what is your biggest pet peeve, if we haven't heard it already?
So one a fun fact a lot of people don't know, and sometimes I talk about it, but I have ADHD. So I have little triggers that sometimes just doesn't make my brain feel nice. So for me, it's loud noises when it comes to if I'm talking and I hear something happening in the background and it's like, I don't know, like a lot of chatter or like construction, I will not be able to focus and it just irritates the bejeebies out of me. Or if we're talking and like we're eating something that requires a lot of slurping, a lot of like chewing, a lot of noises, I will not be able to be engaged in that conversation. I'm just gonna be concentrated in the noise, and I'm gonna be like, let's just eat silently. When we're done eating, then we'll talk. It's a really weird thing about me, but I'm like, it just overstimulates my mind.
I'm laughing not at you, but at the fact when you were describing, if you're doing something that requires a lot of noises, and if it's involving eating or drinking something, I could hear it now. Like that irks me too. Oh my gosh, that irks me too. So it's like, yeah, okay. How about you go over there? I'm gonna go over here. Let's finish, and then we'll come
Yes,
back.
exactly, exactly.
That is hilarious. I like that. Okay, so question number 2 is, what would be your theme song? So if it's you're coming into a birthday party or maybe an event, you're going on stage to speak, whatever it is, what is your theme song?
I really like I'm Alive by Sia. It's just a really nice like I'm here. It's a really good song. Or even I Lived by what is it? It's not Coldplay. I don't it's just a song. Now it's gonna bug me. I don't remember. But it's both about being to persevere, going through your struggles and just but I'm still here no matter what it is. I may have broken bones, I may have whatever, but I'm still here the next day. So I think that's like I've gone through whatever I've gone through, but I'm still here smiling and being the best version of myself.
Oh, I like it. I like it. Now you're gonna make me pull up those songs. I think I know the one "I'm Alive," but the second one I'll need to look it up and see what it is.
I
I'm
think it's One Republic.
okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, let me get another question in here. So, what is your favorite item that you have bought so far this year?
I'm actually looking at it. It's it's this dinosaur. It's a T-Rex that opens up its mouth and I put my candy in there. It's just my favorite thing ever, just to look at it. And well, it has my candy, so I've grown attached to it because I always just grab my jelly beans or my M&Ms, whatever I fill it up at the time. So it's just I've always loved dinosaurs. I was a fan of Jurassic Park when I was a kid, even before Jurassic Park. I don't know. Oh, this is really aging me. The Land Before Time, and that was my jam back in the day with Littlefoot. So obsessed with dinosaurs. So it's kind of like a little nostalgic piece to kind of bring back my inner child of like loving dinosaurs and just seeing it there.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome. Have you seen the new Jurassic World?
Yes,
Yes,
loved it.
isn't it good?
I was obsessed.
Same here. I think I've seen it like 5 times already.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, they did such a good job on that. And I
Yes, they
love to
did.
go back and watch the original, the first
Hmm.
or what do you call it? The first, not seasons, but
The
uh
first movie or the first
yeah,
series.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes. Oh my goodness, I love that too. And I'm a big like Indiana Jones fan as well. So
Yes, that was fun. Yes. I loved all of that. I love those adventure movies, especially the way that they used to make them, and it's just amazing.
yes, absolutely. Do you mind me doing a bonus question for you? Because I'm curious for this one.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so what would be one word that you would use to describe yourself?
Huh. That's a good question.
Oh, awesome.
Let me think. I would say I'm just okay. So I'm thinking of like three words, but the one that resonates with me more is adaptive. So I tend to really adapt to my situation. No matter where I'm at, I may go in a little bit of a freeze so I can kind of analyze everything, but then I'll quickly adapt. I took a those like quizzes that you kind of like the Myers-Briggs tests. It
Mm-hmm.
was similar, but instead it told you what kind of animal you were, and I was a chameleon because I tend to adapt to the best of the situation as much as possible. And I've always stuck with that adaptive personality trait that no matter where I'm at, I'm always going to strive because I can quickly adapt to the circumstances.
Yes. Ah, I'm glad I asked that question. Well, thank you for entertaining us during that fun segment. And we are at the point of this podcast where you can share one final word, maybe a takeaway, a final note that you want to make sure that you leave our listeners with. Maybe it's a motto, whatever it is. Please take it away.
Yeah. My slogan for my business is always unleash the unicorn in you. So always tap into your full potential by really n- asking yourself what is your purpose and really put the time to get to know yourself. We do so much work in getting to know our work, our friends, our loved ones, but we really lack the attention towards ourselves to really take yourself out on a date. Ask yourself what is it that you like and really do that nurture, that self-talk and that self-care for yourself because you matter. Love yourself as if you want everybody else to love you and how you want to love everybody else and give that same passion and dedication to yourself because you matter.
Wonderful. Awesome takeaway. Perfect way to end this episode. Thank you so much, Jaime, for sharing your time with us and all of your valuable information. This was exciting for me because we are in the same industry, in the same field, and we work on like those same areas. And I enjoyed it as well. And so I want to make sure that we are able to support you. So take a moment and let us know how can we follow you? What can we do to support you? If you have any books or products that are out there, any coaching programs, feel free to share that information, your website, go for it.
Of course. Thank you so much. Yeah. So I also have a coaching business called Raygoza Consulting. I do one-on-one coaching there along with consults for businesses if they want to work with me in a larger scale. And my website is www.raygoza-consulting.com, Raygoza-consulting.com. I also host a podcast called Finding the Unicorn in You, where I interview a lot of different people and talk about the struggles that they've gone through, the barriers in their life, and how they overcame those barriers to be the person that they are today and how they reach success and happiness. So feel free to look us up on pretty much any podcast streaming platform and also on YouTube. And I did release a book called The Journal That Began My Journey, which is a self-help book to really keep you organized and on track. And you can pretty much find that on Amazon.
Awesome. Did you provide those links to me? If so, I will put them in a description.
Yeah,
And if not, send them to me. They're going to be in the description. So if anyone is interested in that self-help book, make sure that you follow the link, click the link, and purchase it off of Amazon. We definitely want to support you. But that is it for this episode, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know you've got some good information out of this because I did as well. And make sure that you share this episode with your loved ones or someone that you know could benefit from everything that we discussed today. Friday. If you have not already, please subscribe and hit that bell so you are notified every time another episode comes out. Well, you have been listening to the Speaks Life podcast. I'm Coach Nrgy, the self-mastery coach. Be sure that you connect with me via my website as well, nrgyspeakslife.com. And until next time, always remember that when you master your mind, when you master your emotions, and when you master your assignment, you can live your purpose and live on purpose. Thanks so much. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.